Welcome back to the eSpecial Needs Podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Blanner. In Season 2 of the eSpecial Needs Podcast, we'll be addressing care for the whole person, focusing on early intervention and school-based care resources. We've noticed that it can be difficult to find relevant and researched information for all stages of life, so our next season is focused on that. Here at eSpecial Needs, we want you to be able to not only get the products you need for your loved ones, but also help answer some of the questions that you might have along the way. Whether you're a parent, teacher, caregiver, therapist, or sibling, we want you to be able to help you get the information that you need while you're on the go. In this episode of the eSpecial Needs Podcast, our guest is Susan Shu. Susan is the Chief Program Officer at Variety St. Louis. Variety is an international organization that helps provide funding for kiddos with special needs or disabilities with chapters scattered across the globe. Susan is going to be talking about the St. Louis chapter, how to contact them, and the qualifiers for attaining funding. Welcome, Susan.
So my name is Susan Shu. I'm the Chief Program Officer at Variety, the children's charity, and I've been with Variety just over 2 years and find it to be an extremely rewarding position. So previously I had worked at a major children's hospital in town, and the kids that we treated and worked with at the hospital were these same kids. They're Variety kids, and some of them weren't exactly the same kids. But what's really neat is now I get to see them in everyday life. So at the hospital, they were in crisis situations, and you know what that's like, a crisis situation. But now they're in day to day, and this is how we cope. And so it's really neat to see them in a whole different setting.
So give us an introduction to Variety and the SparkNotes version of like how the organization got started. Who do they serve? Who do they help?
Yep. So Variety, the children's charity, has been in St. Louis for almost 90 years. We serve kids with a medically diagnosed disability between the ages of 0 and their 21st birthday. And we serve kids in 30 counties, so 15 in Missouri and 15 in Illinois. So I had said that Variety was in St. Louis for 90 years. The Variety organization first started in Pittsburgh. About in the early 30s. And it started in the entertainment industry. There was a little baby that was left in a theater, and had a note on it, and it said from the family, we just can't take care of this child. We have a lot of other children at home, and we're hoping someone will take care of her. And we heard that the theater owners were really generous folks. So will you please take care of our baby? So 4 theater owners got together, took care of the kids, started a charity, and now there's charities across the world that take care of kids. And there's 23 Variety chapters in the United States and about another 20 internationally. They're in Australia, Canada, Hong Kong, Japan, all over, and all taking care of kids. So that's how Variety got started, and that's who Variety is, and that's who we take care of.
So if a parent or kiddo wants to get set up with Variety services, what should they know before starting out?
So what they need to know is that there are 4 programs within Variety. 2 of them have a financial qualification eligibility, and 2 are for every comer. So the first 2 are medical equipment and therapy. So we provide over $1 million a year in medical equipment to families whose household income is $85,000 a year or less. That's an automatic qualifier. And so for families whose household income is greater than $85,000 a year, we evaluate those on a case-by-case basis. Because sometimes we leave that pretty broad, because you can't always account for the expenses that a family might have with a kid with a disability. How many kids? We don't have a formula for, kind of feeding in that way. We leave ourselves the opportunity to evaluate each on a case-by-case basis. So that financial qualifier is both for equipment and therapy. So the kinds of equipment that we provide are power wheelchairs, manual wheelchairs, walkers, standers, bath systems, communication devices, orthotics, hearing aids, ramps for vans. I'm trying to think. Oh, therapeutic bikes. That's one of my favorite things. So,
Oh, I love me some therapeutic
yeah.
bikes.
So for a kid that can't ride a balance bike, we provide a specifically designed just for that kid bike that they can then ride. And I got a great story to tell you at the end of this about super impact from our therapeutic bike program. So that's medical equipment and has a financial qualifier and household income of $85,000 or less. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about that. I don't think so. So therapy, we are not therapy providers, but we provide financial support for therapy. So the same financial qualifier, $85,000 a year or less. And we fund 2, sometimes 3, currently it's 3 visits per month for PT, OT, speech, PT, OT, or speech. And we also fund aquatic therapy and hippotherapy, which is therapeutic horsemanship with a certified therapist involved. When a kid gets approved for therapy funding, we provide that for a year. So that's 3 visits per month for a year. And the child can come to us with their own therapist already in line, or we have about 40 to 45 providers that we have developed relationships with who offer a below market rate for their therapy services, and that's who we deal with. So we'd have to come to an agreement with a therapist that's new to us, but it's always a below market rate so we can make the most of the dollars that we have. So those are our 2 financial component programs. And then we have a camp program and a performing arts program. So our camp program is 7 weeks in the summer. We have a day camp Monday through Friday from 9 to 3. And we take about 65 to 75 kids per week. And each kid has their own counselor. So it's a one-on-one counselors. Some of our kids, the more complex kids, might have 2 counselors, might be 2 to 1. But each kid has their own counselor, helping them engage in the activities as best they can. We do some really cool things. We go rock climbing, we go fishing, we play tennis, we have neat art stuff, we have cooking class, just all the typical kind of things that kid might have and any kid might have in summer camp. I mean, we do that too. We go rock climbing. I mean, It's really very cool to see kids with disabilities rock climbing. We have a blast. It's really
I would imagine that sounds adorable and so fun.
Yeah. The kids end up hot and sweaty and they sleep really well when they go home and they make super
Parents love
good
that.
friends. Yeah.
Also fantastic.
A lot of our kids, the parents will say, my kid really doesn't have a friend. And that just breaks your heart when you hear that, because that's just, it's part of who a kid is. They have friends, they play. But our kids come to Variety Summer Camp and there's other kids just like them. And they all get along really well. And literally we have had some of the best friendships set up through Variety Camp. So they find their peeps. They have friends now. It's really very cool. So that's the camping program. And then we have a performing arts program, which consists of chorus, dance, and theater. So chorus and dance are academic year programs. They meet once a week on an evening, and they learn how to sing, they learn how to dance, and then they have performances throughout the year out in the community. And we have excellent instructors, like the gentleman who is our music director is the chairman of the department at Webster University.
Wow.
Chairman of music. So we have high quality instructors for our kids, which is really, very cool. And that also doesn't cost a thing. Kids get to go for free, no charge.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then theater, that's an amazing, wow. It's almost hard to describe. So when I first came to Variety, people said, oh, yeah, we have this really cool theatrical performance every October. It's a musical. And I'm thinking, high school type, whatever. Like, no, this is really Broadway quality show.
Wow.
I mean, we have equity actors. We have a Tony-nominated director. It's at the Two Hill on the UMSL campus. Last year we
I love the
did,
Two Hill. Oh, beautiful
yeah,
venue.
it's nice. Last year we did Mary Poppins. The year before that we did Little Mermaid. The year before that we did Wizard of Oz. This year we're doing Music Man.
Wow.
But there are 2 weekends of performances. And variety kids and neurotypical kids are all involved in the cast, usually 15 of each. So we have about 30 kids in the cast usually. And so we got kids up there with walkers and wheelchairs and all varying abilities. And it's an amazing, what it does for some of these kids is amazing. It's really very cool.
Yeah, it sounds incredible.
Yeah, we also have an intern program associated with that where kids, like teenagers, older kids who can kind of handle the educational piece, they are paired up with some of the theater professionals, and they learn directing, they learn producing, they learn music, they learn lighting. So they are introduced to all the theater arts and crafts in the industry, which is really very cool.
And that's available to your variety kids and neurotypical kids? Okay.
Yes, both.
Both? Okay, cool.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Yep, both kids.
There's one other question that I did have. Sorry if I'm interrupting. Am I interrupting?
No,
okay.
Good. No, good.
So how do you guys fundraise and how can people donate?
Yeah, excellent question. So we are a small organization. We are made up of about 20 folks, and we raise about $5 million a year. So
that's insane. How on earth do you do that? That's incredible. That's like quite the scale.
Yeah, we have several very generous donors, as well as most of the major companies in St. Louis support us, like Centene, Worldwide Technologies, Amarin, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. I mean, all the big companies, Purina, Post Dispatch, they all support us, which is extremely kind.
That is amazing.
As well as lots of individuals who have extra cash in their pocket, and want to take care of kids. It's an easy sell. Taking care of kids plus kids with a disability, all you gotta do is ask.
Yeah.
People won't say no. So, there's lots of competition for raising a charitable dollar. Our big competition really is puppies, I mean, there's like a puppy is warm and cuddly, and that nobody can say no to a puppy, and also nobody can say no to a kid with a disability. So it's really, if you're going to raise money, it's awesome raising money for a variety. We have a couple of major fundraisers during the year, and that's in the month of April. Unfortunately, this year they were both canceled, but we do a event called Dinner with the Stars, and it's at the Peabody. And we usually have first line talent. This year we had Steely Dan lined up. Last year we had Sting. The year before the year before that we had John Legend. Yeah, I know.
Okay. When you're not messing around.
What? That's who we have for our gala. Yeah. And then we have this other thing that's called Runway Lights Fashion Show. And we have a fashion show at Union Station where we have some local models, but also models from New York that come in. And we have a top line designer. Ralph Lauren was a designer 2 years ago. Last year, Lafayette 148, I think. And we have about 3 or 4 of our kids that are also in the fashion show, and they're in their power wheelchairs because it's a partnership with Amarin and the power, Amarin's a power station. Power company, so an energy company. So they sponsor the power wheelchairs in this event. So we have about 3 or 4 girls that also get designer dresses, and it's really very neat. But
that's incredible.
I'm not a girly girl, kind of like fashion shows, like, oh my gosh, fashion show. I'm not like that. However, the fashion show is amazing. It's really, very cool. I love it because you see these models like right up close, and they're tall and slim. I mean, they're just like super professional models, and the gowns and what they wear, the beautiful. Oh my gosh,
it's engrossing, isn't it?
It's really neat. It is really cool, and I'm not into fashion at all. Zero. I'd rather wear hiking pants. But it's really a really cool event. So that's also one of our major fundraisers, and there's fundraising around that event. Lots of ways to donate around those. So that's That's two of the major things. But then there are many grants from the organizations, industry that throughout the year. We write a few grants to foundations for some additional funding, but we do not receive any governmental funding.
Wow. So it's all just, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. It's all personal and corporate.
Moving right along, I did want to ask about kind of like a heartwarming success story, and you
Sure.
alluded to it earlier. So
Yeah, I got two for you. Yeah.
Please.
So one is around our therapeutic bike program. So there's this story, and I love telling it. So this little boy, about 9 years old, he got a therapeutic bike about 2 years ago. And this little guy, he is verbal, but he doesn't start conversations. So he'll answer when his mom asks him questions and engages in a conversation when she or the dad starts it. And then the little guy will, contribute. So he got a bike on a Saturday when we had the event, rode his bike all day long at home, went to sleep, got up the next morning, Sunday morning, walks into the kitchen, and he stops and looks at his mom and he says, "Mom, I had a dream last night." And mom about hit the floor because 9 years she's been waiting for this kid to start a conversation. And here's the day. He starts a conversation. He says, "Mom, I had a dream last night." And then he goes on to say, "I dreamt about my bike."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this kid hadn't started a conversation in his whole life. He gets a bike from Variety that he can now ride because he couldn't ride a bike before. And he's 9 years old, so he's seen lots of kids riding bikes. And it was so impactful to him that he started a conversation with his mom about a dream he had. And he dreamt about his bike.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that really cool?
How meaningful.
I love that story. And then the other a couple of notes that I wanted to tell you about were our power wheelchairs and a function that power wheelchairs can do if you get the function on the wheelchair. So most of the kids that have a power wheelchair have extremely limited mobility without the chair. So they're sitting most of the day. And it's really beneficial if a kid, anybody, can stand at some point. So if that weight bearing on their legs is good for bone health, it's also good for digestion, aids in digestion, and just, an overall emotional, mental health to be in a different position, but also to see the world from a different angle. So insurance will not pay for the standing feature in a power wheelchair. So when Variety approves a kid for our assistance in paying for their medical equipment, if it happens to be a wheelchair, and the doctor prescribes a standing feature and insurance doesn't pay for it, we'll pay for it, as well as anything else on the chair. If insurance won't pay the whole thing, we pay the whole thing. So sometimes we'll pay $50,000 to $60,000 for a wheelchair. So the standing feature on these chairs allows this kid, for instance, this one kid in particular, 16 years old, he can make his own lunch now because he can go to the kitchen, open the cabinet, get out a plate, find a peanut butter and jelly or the turkey, and he can make his own sandwich. He doesn't have to wait for his mom. He's 16 years old. He has to wait for his mom to make his lunch.
That's so independent.
He can do it himself. And then another kid at school, there's a smart board. All the other kids get to come up and help, like edit a sentence in a paragraph or do a math problem up at the smart board. But when you're in a wheelchair and you're sitting down and you can't reach. And so now this little guy who has a standing feature rises up, stands up straight, comes up to the board. Now he can do the math problem. He can edit the paragraph for English class. And now he just feels totally engaged. And he's one of the whole, just like any other kid in the class, instead of being separated out and not being able to do all the activities that all the other kids do. So because Variety helps support funding of medical equipment, we can help pay for the whole chair, including the standing feature of the chair.
Yeah, and what a way to promote integration.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Something so little. Yeah, and insurance says it's not necessary.
Well, it's good that you guys think it is because
exactly.
And it's our definitely
pleasure.
empowering.
Yeah, it's our pleasure to be able to help in those kinds of things. So that's who we are. That's what we do. Those are a couple of really interesting, heartwarming stories. There's a lot of them. We just have, we see it every day. Strong families, working hard. I mean, like you guys,
Thank you. Yeah. Is there anything I should have asked but didn't?
Uh, hmm, hmm, hmm. We have a very good website for folks that contact us. It's varietystl.org. Um, the direct person that works with funding equipment, her name is Misty, and her contact is on the web. And Carolyn does therapy, and her contact is on the web. It's Carolyn at Variety STL, and it's Misty at Variety STL, and mine is Susan at Variety STL. I'm happy to facilitate or contact anybody who needs help. But it's all right out there. Our application's out there on the web. We'd be thrilled to talk to anybody that needs to know about funding and helping kids with disabilities. We're here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Susan.
You're welcome. I'm glad we got it together.
This podcast is hosted and produced by Catherine Blanner with the help of Jason Hinglin Lauderdale. If you liked this podcast, leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, and share it with your friends. If you want to keep up with us, you can follow eSpecial Needs on social media. On Facebook, we're just eSpecial Needs, on Instagram at eSpecial_needs, and Twitter at eSpecial Needs. Thank you again for listening, and don't forget, you're doing great things.